His lips were on mine before I could even think. My back pressed against the cold wall of a hotel room I had sworn I would never enter, and yet here I was. The rush of heat, the danger of being caught, the intoxicating scent of someone who was not my husband, it overwhelmed me. His hand slid across my waist as my breath quickened, and every nerve in my body screamed at me that this was wrong, but another darker voice whispered that this was exactly what I craved. As his touch deepened, I knew I was risking everything. My marriage. My life. My sanity. But the thrill was stronger than the fear, and in that moment, all I wanted was more. Before I take you deeper into this story, let me pause to thank you. To every subscriber who continues to watch these stories, I truly appreciate you. You fuel this channel and give me the energy to keep bringing these raw and emotional tales to life. To all the new and returning viewers who are yet to subscribe, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It serves as the fuel and the power that keeps this channel alive. And please, do not forget to leave your thoughts in the comments right after this video. I am eager to hear what you think about what you are about to witness. Now, let me take you into my world. My name is Rachel. I am a 32-year-old white American woman living in a quiet suburban neighborhood in the United States. On the outside, I am the woman everyone envies. A beautiful home, a loving husband, a stable marriage that looks like it was crafted straight from a picture-perfect magazine. My husband's name is Michael. He is 35, a hard-working man who adores me. He has never given me a reason to doubt his loyalty. He is the kind of man who brings me coffee in bed on Saturday mornings, who remembers anniversaries without fail, and who still calls me beautiful even when I have been in sweatpants all day. He is steady, dependable, and safe. But safe was never enough for me. It started with Daniel. Daniel worked in the same office as I did. He was tall, charismatic, the kind of man whose presence filled the room before he even spoke. He had that dangerous charm, the confidence of someone who knew women noticed him, and worse, he knew how to use it. One night, after an office happy hour, I found myself sitting too close to him in the corner of a dimly lit bar. Michael was at home, probably sitting on the couch with a beer in hand, waiting for me. But Daniel's laugh made me lean in, his hand brushing against mine sent electricity straight through me. That night, I kissed him in the parking lot, my wedding ring cold and heavy against his cheek. I told myself it would stop there. That it was just a moment of weakness. But weakness has a way of repeating itself when it feels good. The next week, Daniel and I found ourselves in a hotel room. The same kind of room I had just described in that hook moment. The cheap floral curtains, the hum of the air conditioner, the suffocating silence as I crossed the line I swore I never would. When it was over, I felt a rush, not of love, not of romance, but of adrenaline. The thrill of getting away with it. And that was the moment I realized. I was not simply unfaithful. I was addicted. Addicted to the secrecy. Addicted to the chase. Addicted to the way cheating made me feel alive in a way my stable marriage never could. Every time I looked at Michael, my heart ached with guilt. But guilt was never strong enough to keep me away from the fire. Instead, I began to learn how to hide it better. I learned how to delete messages, how to create excuses, how to smile at my husband and pretend I was not living a double life. I told myself that Daniel would be the only one. That if I just had this one outlet, I could keep my marriage intact and no one would ever need to know. But soon, even Daniel was not enough. I started noticing others. A bartender who lingered too long when he poured my drink. A gym trainer whose compliments made me blush. A stranger at the grocery store whose eyes locked with mine just a moment too long. I began to crave the attention, to thrive on the danger. I told myself it was harmless at first, but inside I knew exactly what I was doing. I was feeding an addiction. Michael remained blind to it all. He trusted me completely. He believed in me more than I believed in myself. He had no idea that while he was working late shifts or falling asleep beside me, I was texting another man, planning my next betrayal. The irony was cruel. I loved him in my own twisted way. I loved the life we built together, the home we shared, the security of knowing he was mine. But I also loved the chaos, the thrill, the destruction. I was living two lives, and the line between them was growing thinner every day. There was one night in particular that haunts me to this day. Michael had planned a romantic evening, candles, wine, music. But I had already made plans with Daniel. I lied to Michael, told him I had to stay late at work, and instead, I drove to a hotel room where Daniel was waiting. As Michael sat at home with the candles burning, I was in another man's arms. And when I came back that night, the guilt hit me like a tidal wave. Michael was asleep on the couch, the candles melted down, the wine untouched. I kissed his forehead, whispered that I loved him, and went to bed. But in the back of my mind, I was already thinking about the next time. By the time I realized how deep I was in, it was too late. I was no longer in control. It was not about love, not even about lust. It was about the rush, the danger, the secret. It was about filling a void I could not even name. And I knew, deep down, that one day, it would all come crashing down. But until then, I could not stop. Addiction has a way of convincing you that you are still in control, even when you are drowning. That is exactly where I was. Every time I told myself that Daniel would be the last, I found myself drifting into the arms of another. The lies multiplied. The thrill grew. And with every secret I buried, the danger became heavier. I began to perfect the art of deception. I learned how to silence my phone at night so Michael would never hear a buzz. I memorized excuses before I needed them: traffic, late meetings, a stop at the grocery store. I smiled at him, cooked him dinner, kissed him goodnight, all while carrying on a web of betrayal behind his back. The double life became almost effortless, which made it even more dangerous. Daniel was still around, but soon he became only one piece of a puzzle. There was Aaron, a personal trainer at the gym. There was Chris, a man I met during a work trip who lived 2 states away. Every new connection gave me a temporary high, but it faded quickly, leaving me hungry for more. I told myself it was harmless because I always came back to Michael. I convinced myself that as long as he did not know, I was protecting him. But the truth was ugly. I was not protecting him. I was destroying him in silence. Michael, in his innocence, started noticing small changes. "Rachel," he said one evening, "you have been distant lately. Is everything all right?" I looked him in the eye and lied. "I am just stressed from work." He believed me. Of course, he did. He trusted me more than anyone. His trust was my shield, and I used it against him like a weapon. The first crack in my double life came from Daniel. He was different from the others. He was bold, reckless, and he wanted more than just secret hotel rooms. He wanted me to himself. One night, after another rushed meeting, he looked at me with narrowed eyes. "How long are you going to keep hiding? Why do you stay with him if you keep coming back to me?" I froze. I had always promised myself that I would never let these affairs cross into my real life. They were supposed to be isolated thrills, not threats to my marriage. "Daniel," I whispered, "we cannot do this. Michael can never know." But Daniel smirked, and his words chilled me. Then maybe he should. Maybe he should know how much his wife loves sneaking around with me. My heart pounded. For the first time, fear replaced the thrill. After that, Daniel became unpredictable. He started sending me messages at odd hours, messages that I worried Michael might see. Sometimes he would leave hints in his tone, suggesting that he had no problem revealing everything. I tried to cut things off, but Daniel did not let go easily. "You started this, Rachel," he reminded me. "You wanted me. Do not act like you are innocent now." His arrogance terrified me because he was right. I had opened the door, and now I could not close it. I thought about confessing to Michael, but the image of his face shattered me before the thought could take root. How could I tell him that his wife was not just unfaithful once, but again and again? How could I tell him that while he was working to give us stability, I was sneaking into hotel rooms with strangers? No, confession was not an option. So, I lied more. I lied bigger. My addiction worsened. Even as Daniel became a threat, I still found myself with Aaron at the gym, sneaking into his car after hours. I still texted Chris when Michael was asleep beside me. My hunger was insatiable, and with every new man, I told myself it would be the last. But the guilt began to eat at me. There were nights I lay awake beside Michael, staring at the ceiling, feeling like the walls of our home were closing in on me. I could feel his trust like a heavy chain, and I knew I was one message away from destroying it all. The lies started slipping into everyday moments. When Michael asked why I came home late, I sometimes stumbled over my excuse. When he reached for my phone, I snatched it too quickly. When he kissed me, I flinched without meaning to. And he noticed. "Rachel," he said one night, his voice softer than usual, "are you sure nothing is wrong? You feel far away from me." I forced a smile and shook my head. "I am fine. I promise." But the truth was that I was drowning in secrets, and my addiction was dragging me under. One evening, I returned home to find Michael sitting on the couch, holding my phone. My blood froze. "I was just looking for the time," he said casually, but his eyes were searching mine. I snatched the phone back too quickly, my heart racing. In that moment, I knew. He was starting to see through me. He did not have proof yet, but suspicion was growing. I told myself I could fix it. That if I just stopped now, if I cut Daniel off, if I deleted Chris, if I avoided Aaron, I could salvage everything. But addiction does not stop when you want it to. Addiction stops when it destroys you. The night that changed everything came a week later. Daniel called me while I was at home with Michael. I ignored it, but my stomach twisted in knots. A second call followed, and then a message flashed across my screen: "If you do not answer me, maybe I should call your husband instead." Panic ripped through me. I excused myself, locking the bathroom door, and called Daniel back. "Do not ever threaten me again," I hissed. But Daniel only laughed. "Rachel, you cannot erase me. You cannot play house with him forever while sneaking around with me. One way or another, he will find out." I hung up, my hands trembling. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror and saw the truth written all over my face. I was not a victim. I was the architect of my own ruin. Michael knocked on the door. "Rachel? Are you all right?" I swallowed hard, forcing my voice steady. "Yes, I am fine." But I was not fine. For the first time, I realized that my addiction was no longer a secret I could manage. It was a ticking bomb. And sooner or later, it would explode. And when it did, I knew I would lose everything. Secrets have a way of surviving for only so long. Mine had stretched themselves into years of hidden messages, late-night lies, and stolen embraces with men who never deserved my loyalty. But eventually, everything I worked so hard to bury clawed its way to the surface. It was a Saturday morning when it happened. The sun was streaming through the curtains, and Michael was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. I walked in, smiling, pretending like everything was normal. But when he lifted his eyes to mine, the look on his face told me my world was about to collapse. "Rachel," he said quietly, "I need you to sit down." My stomach sank. He placed my phone on the table. I know. The air was sucked from my lungs. My mind scrambled for an excuse, a lie, anything to patch the cracks. But it was too late. "I read the messages," he continued, his voice trembling but steady. "Not just one. All of them. Daniel. Aaron. Even Chris." His jaw tightened as he said their names, like each one was a knife cutting deeper into him. I covered my mouth, shaking my head, but no words came. Michael's voice broke. "Rachel, how many men have there been? How many times did you look me in the eye and lie to me?" Tears blurred my vision. "Michael, please. Don't," he snapped, slamming his hand against the table. The sound echoed through the kitchen, shattering the silence. His voice cracked again, this time softer. I gave you everything. I trusted you with everything. And you destroyed it. I reached across the table, desperate. I am sorry. I am sick. I do not know why I do this. It is like something I cannot stop. Michael pushed his chair back, standing tall, his chest heaving. An addiction? That is what you call it. While I was working late shifts to pay the bills, you were sneaking into hotel rooms. While I was loving you, you were moaning another man's name. Addiction? His voice shook, but his words cut like glass. No, Rachel. That is betrayal. My body trembled. Please, I can fix this. I will get help. We can go to counseling. Do not throw us away. But Michael's eyes were already full of a pain that I could not undo. The confrontation stretched into hours. He demanded answers I could not give. How long? How many? Why? With every question, the weight of my sins pressed harder. By the time the sun set, Michael had made his decision. You cannot stay here, he said, his voice drained of emotion. Not after this. Pack your things. My heart shattered. Michael, please, I do not have anywhere to go. He shook his head. That is not my problem anymore. You made your choice every time you walked into another man's arms. You chose them over me. Now you can live with it. His words were final. I spent that night throwing clothes into a suitcase, my hands shaking uncontrollably. Michael stayed in the living room, silent, his back turned to me. Every zipper, every drawer I closed, felt like a funeral. By midnight, I stood at the door with my suitcase in hand. I turned to him, tears streaming down my face. I still love you. He did not look at me. No, Rachel. You loved the thrill. You loved the lies. But you never loved me enough to be faithful. And with that, he opened the door. The cold night air rushed in, and I stepped out. The sound of the door closing behind me was the sound of my world collapsing. The days that followed were worse than I imagined. Daniel tried to contact me, smug and unapologetic. Aaron blocked me, pretending like I never existed. Chris sent one message before vanishing, I didn't know you were married. Don't contact me again. The men I had risked everything for disappeared like shadows at sunrise. The only person who had truly loved me was the one I had betrayed, and he was gone. I checked into a cheap hotel that first week, staring at the ceiling at night, the silence unbearable. For the first time, I had no lies left to tell, no thrills to chase. Just the reality of what I had done. I had called my betrayal an addiction to soothe my conscience. But addiction did not crawl into Michael's bed every night and look him in the eye while sneaking behind his back. That was me. I had destroyed my marriage with my own hands, step by step, kiss by kiss, lie by lie. One evening, I saw Michael's face on a photo a friend posted online. He was smiling, standing with our friends, but I noticed the sadness lingering in his eyes. That sadness was my doing. That pain was my legacy. I wanted to call him, to beg one more time. But I knew the truth, Michael was too good for me now. I had broken him in a way that could not be undone. The weight of that truth crushed me. I had always believed I could have both, the thrill of cheating and the safety of my marriage. But life does not work that way. You cannot build a home while setting fires inside it. Eventually, the flames consume everything. And they did. Now, when I look back, I see the ruins I created. My marriage. My husband's trust. My dignity. All of it reduced to ashes. Michael threw me out that night because he loved himself enough not to drown with me. And I cannot blame him. If the roles had been reversed, I would have walked away too. So, I carry this story not as a badge of shame but as a scar, a reminder of the cost of my choices. A reminder that no thrill, no addiction, no secret high is worth the destruction of real love. Because in the end, cheating does not just betray the person you love, it betrays yourself. And I am living proof.